And welcome back to Beyond the To-Do List, a podcast about productivity. I'm your host, Eric Fisher, and in this episode, I'm joined by professional organizer Ingrid Jansen, co-author of Reset Your Home. In this conversation, we're talking about why clutter is more about emotions than stuff, and why decluttering is a process, not a project, and that you can do it by starting small with things like a daily reset, 10 to 30-minute daily habits, and how this saves you not only time, but money as well. So if you're looking for a little bit of a reset in the space around you and a productivity boost to boot, you're going to love this conversation with Ingrid Jansen. Well, it is my privilege to welcome to the show Ingrid Jansen. Ingrid, welcome to Beyond the To-Do List.
Thank you very much. I love a list, Eric, so I'm hoping that I'm in the right place.
Oh, you definitely are. You definitely are. So your book, Reset Your Home, that you co-authored, feels like a breath of fresh air for anybody that's overwhelmed with clutter. And I just want to start by asking, why do you think it's so hard for people to let go of their stuff, even when they know it's what's holding them back?
Oh, that's how long is a piece of string question, Eric, but I will do my best to answer. I think what we see a lot in all of these years that Leslie and I have been professional organizers is that a lot of people focus on the stuff the whole time. What am I going to do with the stuff? Where's the stuff going to go? How am I going to get rid of it? Where am I going to chuck it out? And we kind of took a step back from that and went, but it's not about the stuff. It's about the emotions that sit behind the stuff. Why is it so hard? I mean, some people have no problem at all with decluttering items. And they look at people with clutter in wonder and go, it's not that hard. But a lot of people struggle with clutter. And if you kind of delve into that, it's like, okay, it's all the emotions that sit behind that clutter that make it so hard. It's the, oh, but I've spent so much money on this item that's holding me back and I can't declutter it. Or my mom or my best friend gave this to me and I have to keep a hold of it. Or my kids drew this picture and I know I've got 300 other pictures, but they've made it and I can't put it in the recycling bin. So it's all these things combined together that make it hard to let go of that. And also a lot of clutter is aspirational as well. You know, we bought that bread maker because we wanted to be, do something at home, or that juicer because we wanted to be healthier. And we used it 4 times and now it sits on our kitchen counters gathering dust. And we're like, yeah. So it's not the stuff itself. Putting stuff in a bin bag, whether it's going to be donated, thrown away, given away, whatever, that's not the problem. It's the reasoning behind it. And you need to break through that and get some insight into that before you declutter.
Yeah, as I hear you talking, you keep bringing up these stories that are there, these connections that have emotional ties to people and places and even our identity. So we got to understand why we keep things and how it shapes our identity. Kind of like how certain roles like mother or father or friend or I'm in charge of this thing. I'm chief. What's it called? Or I'm VP of such and such at this company. Like how we adopt that and wear that hat or skin as part of ourselves, even though it's not necessarily the thing that identifies or defines us.
Exactly. And I think we also hold on to things maybe because we loved that life that we had. We look back on that period of time that we think, that was brilliant and I felt good and it was amazing. But that clutter makes us, go back to the past the whole time. And what we would love for people to happen is that they live in the present, in the here and now, and that they make space for the things that are coming. And if you've got so much clutter from the past, that is completely holding you back from enjoying the moment now. And if you constantly struggle with, where am I going to put it? Where am I going to keep it? I've got so much stuff I don't know anymore. You can't live the life that you need to. And a lot of people say to us, I would love to have more time. I would love to do this hobby that I love, or I would love to sit down and read a book. But the clutter holds them back from doing all of these things. And once you break that through and go, right, you need to choose the space over the stuff. And you need to choose you. What's important for you in the moment? What do you enjoy doing? And if your children are now 21 and they're still kids' plates cluttering up the kitchen cupboard, but that means that if you are doing a juicer at the moment, you can't put it away because all the stuff is cluttered up in your kitchen from a life before, then you can't enjoy the moment because all of that clutter that's out is really overwhelming. So we want to take that overwhelm down. But what we see, Eric, is people then go, right, I'm going to declutter. I'm going to tackle those kitchen counters or those kitchen sides, right? And they start with, right, let me put the stuff that's out away because that's bothering me. But they forget that the cupboards are full. So how are you going to tidy something away if you can't put it anywhere? So Leslie and I are very, very clear in our message and say you have to tackle the cupboards, the kitchen cupboards, the drawers, the wardrobes, the shelves first. And then you start to clear space, and then you can put the stuff away that's now out. Same example, what we see a lot is clothing, right? A lot of people struggle with laundry. Laundry is complicated. Laundry seems easy. You just throw it in a washing machine, you dry it, and you put it back and you put it back on. But there's lots of steps in a laundry cycle. So what we see in full houses, wardrobes are bursting at the seams. We see the clothes are out because they can't be put away. So we say to tackle those floor drobes and chair drobes and bed drobes and all of the robes that we see everywhere, you have to sort out your wardrobes first, and then you can put the stuff away. And then over time, slowly but surely, marathon, not sprint, it will improve over time.
Okay, I want to latch onto that marathon, not sprint. In fact, it's almost that it's not just one race, but there's multiple races or multiple laps because it's an ongoing thing. I imagine, again, you've got to empty out those spaces as you're talking about first, do something there, then move on to another phase. And this could be multiple phases, like in one room, let alone then multiple rooms and so on. Like it's an ongoing process.
Correct. So what people think is when they declutter, they think of it as a project. But actually, decluttering is a process. And I'm sorry to say this to your listeners, Eric, decluttering is never done. It's a bit like laundry. It's never done, right? So as long as stuff comes into your house, stuff needs to leave. The nice thing is, though, if the clutter goes down in the home a little bit, people start to change their mindset and they're starting to go, hold on a minute, I can keep decluttering forever and ever, but as long as I have loads of stuff coming in, I will be my own worst enemy here. So people start to think about, hold on a minute, I want to shop smarter and I want to shop better and I want to shop less because the less comes in, the less needs to do. I need to do declutter. So it does get better, but you don't see that the first 5 or 10 times that you do a bit of decluttering. You think, well, this is a bridge that I'm looking at and how am I going to get to the top? But slowly but sure you'll get there. And you're absolutely right. It is multiple rounds around that racetrack. The first time you go, and the first time is the hardest, right? The first time you tackle a room or an area or a drawer or a shelf is the hardest because you haven't built up your decluttering muscle yet. You need to build up your decluttering muscle over time, and that will happen. It's the same as trying to, go on a diet or run a marathon. You start with, let me stop eating chocolate or let me walk around the block first and then build it up. Same with decluttering. You start small and you regularly practice and then it gets easier. Also, Leslie and I say, you know what? If in doubt, keep it, which is completely against what everybody says, right? Everybody says, if in doubt, throw it out. But we say, if you're in doubt, keep it. Your decluttering muscle is just not ready yet to let this go at this time. You need to start with the no-brainers, with the easier items, with the rooms that are easier. And then when you circle back to that kitchen or bathroom or wardrobe at some point, you're going to go, wow, I kept that last time because I couldn't make a decision. But now I'm ready to let it go because your thinking gets clearer. And that's also why in our book, we've done all the chapters about the different rooms in the house with the first a thinking part and then a doing part, because we see them as they're super connected, but you have to think about things first and then do the doing.
I would even say it's not just thinking, but it's a thinking and feeling part, right? Some of the thoughts and feelings are wrapped together. So,
oh yeah, for sure. Well, absolutely.
And part of this is you got to have this self-awareness about who you are as a clutter personality, as you put it in the book. And there's these different clutter personalities. They each have unique traits and struggles and goals. Let's walk through those. I think there's 5 of them.
Yes, we've got happy heapers, warm weepers, nostalgic knee-deepers, kind keepers, and harassed housekeepers. Oh my gosh, I did that on the top of my head.
That's just great. Awesome job.
And indeed, every clutter personality, and we've got a little quiz, and you can figure out what kind of clutter personality you are, but they've got their different things. And of course, some people are a combination of all. You've got the people who are, like the harassed housekeepers. They've got lots of stuff going on, probably lots of people in their house and lots of carrying responsibilities, their full-time jobs, and even the normal day-to-day jobs they find difficult to get on top of. Then you've got the people who are super nostalgic and who just love everything from the past. Then you've got the people who are really nostalgic about there's been trauma, and that's why they're holding on to things. And like I said, Eric, some people have a little bit of everything, but you see that procrastination and clutter often go hand in hand. There's procrastination, there's overwhelm, there's just stress. I mean, clutter creates a lot of stress because it's that visual clutter that you see, but also that emotional clutter in your brain. You're trying to hold on to all of these things in your head while you're just trying to get to the day by day. And some people, of course, struggle with their physical health or their mental health. And some people have just all of the above. And then it's like, where do you start? So, and the thing is, on socials and things like that, you see the before and the after. And it's like, woo, snip of a finger. But people are like, but I don't know how to do that. And you have to break that down. It gets easier over time. I really want to say that to your listeners. It does get easier, but you can't have, there's no magic wand. There's no secret potion. You have to spend the time on it and break it down. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, little bit every day. And then what's really important as well is to start embracing daily resets. Daily, you're going to have to do a couple of things. That's different for everybody. But for example, in my life, I daily want to fill my dishwasher and unload it, or do my washing up. I daily want to empty my bins and my recycling. If I would have a pet, I daily would need to feed my pet and take care of it. And I daily want to wipe my kitchen counter. And I daily want to put a load of laundry on. If you start with decluttering and organizing, and you, for example, start in your kitchen, that's what we advise. Start in your kitchen because a kitchen has normally less emotions than books or photographs or paperwork, right? Kitchens are easier. And once you've done a couple of kitchen cupboards and space starts to appear, you start to put some stuff away. We go, okay, now make sure daily you do that washing up, because you're going to do your future self. You're going to help your future self here, right? Because in the morning, you're going to go downstairs and go, oh, this is nice. And it becomes, when you do this every day, this washing up and you have a clean sink, it gets easier and easier. And you start to get quicker at washing up and putting stuff away because everything starts to have a home. And it becomes a habit and something that you do daily. And then when you start to do a couple of these things daily, you don't have a massive backlog over the weekend. So you're not looking at a whole kitchen full of dirty plates on a Saturday morning going, oh my word, and it takes you hours then to tidy it all away. So you then start to carve out a little bit of space to go, actually, now I can start to open a cupboard and do a bit of extra here. Or, let me look at that drawer over there, because you've stayed during the week on top of those daily things and they were non-negotiable. Whatever happened, you're doing those, and people build them out, right? So you start with one thing and then you kind of try to add little things in here and there, and until it becomes a habit. And then you start, that's a game changer. Then you start to really see, and our members tell us, they're like, wow, the daily resets, once I got those under control, everything changed.
That's a great tip. As you're working with people, what have you found have been some of the biggest emotional factors that have derailed when someone's putting in an initial, or even they've done a first or second wave of a decluttering effort?
I think what you see a lot is also, fatigue. You see fatigue a lot, because decluttering is all about decision making. Lots and lots of decisions the whole time. And of course, if you've been working on your house for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, it's a bit like, whew. And sometimes people just need to, take a break for a week or two. Just, a bit like going on holiday. Just take a break for a couple of weeks, still doing the daily resets, but having a break, having a little think about it, because priorities change over time as well. At the beginning, what might have the reason why they were doing it changes over time. And you see that in people's lives happening. So what we talk a lot about is, what's your big picture goal? Why are you doing this? And I want a tidy house is too vague. It's great, but it's too vague. But why do you want a tidy house? Well, I want a tidy house because I would love to invite my neighbors in for a cup of coffee. I want to have my grandchild spend the weekend with me, and I can't because the spare bedroom and the rest of the house is chaotic. I would love to do my craft project that I've been meaning to do. And I've got all these craft items, but I can never craft because the house. So your big picture goals, your reason why. And then when you're on the road to that picture becomes clearer and clearer. But just saying, I want a tidy house isn't enough. But of course, it's ups and downs. It's never a smooth ride, it's a roller coaster. Sometimes people are like, woohoo, I'm doing great and I'm loving it. And other times it's like, why did I want to do this? Why was this a good idea? And because sometimes you take 2 steps forward and you take a step back. And we see that with decluttering as well. So I think that's one of the things. And of course, when you go to the harder areas, the harder rooms, then it normally slows down. So when you go into paperwork, books, it's very tricky for a lot of people. Sentimental items, because there's so many categories. It can be sentimental items for yourself, from your partner, from your kids, from your family, from family members who've passed away. What do you do with all this stuff? So the decisions become harder. And that's why it's so important to start with easier rooms, because a lot of people who think have clutter think about the most horrible thing. And we hear it all the time. They start with, my whole house is a bit cluttered and a bit chaotic. And I've got these ornaments from my mom that she passed down to me. And I've got still magazines from when I was young. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Let's start with the Tupperware. Let's start with the mugs and the glasses and the shoes. And let's build up that decluttering muscle over time so you are more ready. But that doesn't mean it's easy. I mean, when you start to dig out letters, what we used, before email and WhatsApp, people find lots of letters. They find postcards. They find collections of items that they used to collect when they were young. And then it's hard to make those decisions, right? Like, what's important for me now? What do I enjoy looking at? So a bit of a roller coaster.
What would you say in terms of strategies that are out there available for people when it comes to dedicating the time and the energy to this? Because clearly it's going to take some time and they don't even know how long that's going to take. And it's extra energy that they already feel like, oh, I don't even know if I have enough energy to cook the dinner, let alone start to declutter my kitchen.
Yes. So I think what's really important is don't wait. A lot of people go, I just need time, right? And we saw that during lockdown. I know it's 5 years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. A lot of people said, well, we can't go anywhere. We finally got time now. And they still kept struggling because of the emotions and not about the clutter itself. So it isn't a time issue, but people think it's a time issue. And they wait for the perfect moment. If you wait until the temperature is just right and you've got 6 hours of nothing and nothing happens in your life, you're going to be waiting for a long time. You know, it's like waiting for the porridge to be at just the right temperature. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It will never be perfect. So you have to get started, and you have to get started small. And that means, you know, committing yourself daily or every other day and say, okay, I know I'm tired after dinner. The only thing I want to do is veg on the sofa and watch TV for 3 hours. Be honest with yourself and go, I know I want to do that, but if I want to make changes in my house, I'm going to have to start putting some work in. And, you know, setting a timer for 20 minutes, 30 minutes can be the start. We have we have a membership, Leslie and I, and we've got something called success sessions. And 4 times a week, we set a timer for 50 minutes. We all come together on Zoom. We set a timer for 50 minutes and we go, right, you've committed to being here, do something. And just the fact of setting that timer is so helpful for people to go, okay, some people try to beat the clock. Other people just really love it that they see other people doing something as well. And it's different for everybody because everybody's on their different journeys, right? Some people are sorting out their pots and pans while other people are opening posts, and the third person is clearing their kitchen counters and the other person is mending something. It's all these jobs, right, that have piled up and we think, oh yeah, I need to do that. It's just because you commit yourself to that time, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it doesn't mean waiting for a whole weekend free or when the kids are off in the summer or when you've got holidays or whatever. You have to build this in amongst your life. And the nice thing is, after only a short time, you start to win back time because everything becomes easier. Cleaning becomes easier. Hoovering becomes easier. Putting laundry away becomes easier. Your keys have a spot in your house where they always are. You know what's in your fridge and freezer, so you don't spend lots of money when you do a grocery shop because you know what's in your house. So you start to save time. You start to save money, but you have to make it small and break it down. It's the only way.
Now, you mentioned as starting out to start with the kitchen, but 2, start with the storage, empty the storage first. You can see what's in there, get it out, have it visually.
Yeah.
What I can see that's definitely helpful. I wonder if some people are going to react to that and think, okay, but should I maybe like buy and or clear out or set up additional storage first to put some of this displaced stuff so that I can do like, in other words, like pre-step to the pre-step in a way.
I love it. And that's a question we get all the time, Eric. So I'm really glad you're asking me this. We get it all the time. What do I need to buy to get organized? And we say, don't buy anything. Work with what you have. The storage is not the problem. The containers is not the problem. The stuff is the problem. You have too much stuff for your house. So if you go into a kitchen and you open the cupboard where the pots and pans live, you just need, a table or a bit of kitchen counter space, or even, put some old papers down and pull them out on the floor, and you'll go, right, let me look at these pots and pans. And I'm just going to match the lids with the right, because things kind of disappear in kitchen cupboards and you're like, well, I don't even know what this is. And this is not even a pot or a pan. Why is this in this pot and pan cupboard, right? So you pull one cupboard out. While it's empty, you might as well give it a quick wipe, 2 minutes, quick wipe, little spray, quick wipe. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. And you start to categorize. And then you're going to go, okay, which pans do I use all the time? What are the favorites? We don't start with what am I going to get rid of? Very negative. I know we're doing it, but it's much more positive to go, okay, what do I use all the time? What do I love? What makes sense to me? Cool. Let me put those to the side. Those are the definite keepers. And then you see that pan that was in the back of your cupboard. You've got a duplicate. It's scratched. You haven't used it in years. And you're like, oh, well, that one I can easily let that go. And whether it's going to the charity shop or the bin or the recycling, doesn't matter. But then you've got the maybes in the middle, right? The I'm not sure. And that's where you then go, okay, let me now have a look at this and try and make the best decisions as I can. And if you're like, see this little, I don't know, mushroom or asparagus drainer that you've had for years, you're like, oh, I'm not sure about it. I was planning to look. For now, keep it. Because in a while, you're going to come back to this cupboard, maybe in 6 months' time or a year's time, and then the asparagus drainer can still go. You know what? You don't have to make that decision there and then, but it does help. But you don't need to buy anything. You just need a tiny bit of space on the floor or on the kitchen counter. And then you put the pans back and you make sure that the ones you use all the time are in the front. So you can easily get them in and out because they're the ones that go in the dishwasher that you need for cooking. Close the doors and then you're done. And then you can go, wow, that was brilliant. You know what? Let me do one more cupboard, or I had enough for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to look at my plastic containers, or I'm going to look at my cutlery. And that's how you break it down.
I love this approach of dealing with one piece at a time. Not even thinking, I'm going to think about the whole room. No, it's like one component of the room and giving yourself permission to pause then and feel that accomplishment, feel good about it, and use that as kind of leverage momentum, if you will, into the next thing. Yeah. Either right then or later then that day or the next day. But keeping it short and simple and, in baby steps. Yeah. So I love that. Yeah. Moving beyond, I also love that actually you're giving examples of the different questions, not just it's not a black and white keep or not keep. It's like you said earlier, there's stories, emotional ties. And I know that's why we start with the kitchen, because there's maybe less of those, not to downplay those that love cooking and they have their stories, but it's probably the place that we have the least amount of stories. Although maybe potentially the bathroom too. I can't say I've got a favorite story about a toothbrush, but moving from the kitchen, what are some of the next rooms that we approach?
Love it. Okay, so from the kitchen, you go indeed in the bathroom. Bathroom is indeed normally not as many sentimental items. A perfect example is toothbrushes. How many does a person need? But bathroom items are often quite expensive. Those conditioners, shampoos, perfumes, creams, and all of that. Lots of money has gone into that. And what we really love to achieve with the bathroom, it's a tricky room to clean and it needs to be cleaned often. So that's why it's important that lots of stuff for bathrooms gets put away. And you definitely want to we see a lot of overbuying, a lot of, a shampoo that's you kind of grab every time you go into the shops because you think you run out. But once you start to kind of see the volumes, we've had members who actually didn't buy any bathroom products for a year. And they were like, I'm saving so much money because it's so expensive. And we forget how much we have. So Leslie and I are big lovers of using it up. Finish it, use it up. If there's a tiny little bit left, finish it so you can then declutter the container. And use all the little shampoos and little soaps that you've gotten picked up from a hotel trip somewhere. Use them up. And then ask yourself the next time where you're in a hotel, do I actually really want to take these home with me? Because it means that I then have to declutter them again. So bathroom is normally the next step. Then you go to the linen cupboard. So things like pillows and duvets and towels and linen sets and quilts and all of those things, bulky items, but there needs to be a process. How many sets do you need for a bed? Are the sets still the right size for the bed? Because we change mattresses, we change rooms, we change, is everything still in good condition? Does things have a tear? Because what happens, and that we see a lot with the older generations, they're very much of the make, do, and mend era, right? They're frugal. So they buy something new, they put it in the cupboard, and then I open the linen cupboard and I go, wow, lots of stuff here, but there's so much in packaging. Oh, no. That's for best. And I'm like, what does that mean? Well, I've bought that for when I have a guest. And I'm like, how often do guests come and stay? Oh, I'm not having anyone over at the moment because of the state of the house. But I see 4 packages with beautiful bed linen, completely packaged up. And then I'm looking at the things they're currently using, and it's like faded and it's frayed. And I'm like, well, why don't you use this? No, but that's for best. But I'm the best is now. When is best? There's not a day in the week or a month of the year that's called the best year or the best day or the best month. And they're like, oh, right. Because they were raised to really, just almost use it till it falls apart. And I'm like, but you deserve nice things. Use the nice stuff. Enjoy the moment. We don't know what's going to happen in life. I would love for you to drink tea from a porcelain teacup if you want to, right? You don't have to use the plastic cups. Yeah, but what if it falls? I'm like, well, then at least you've really enjoyed it. It's not sat in your cupboard for years on end. So linen cupboards next, and then you go into the bedrooms. Then you start on the clothes. That's when you go clothes, shoes, handbags, jewelry, those kind of categories. And so that's how you move through your house. Even living rooms come later, because living rooms normally have a plethora of different things, right? They have ornaments and books and CD collections and DVDs, and we might even still have Laserdisc players. I mean, who knows what's in there? So a living room is harder to do, and you need to make space elsewhere first and develop that decluttering muscle before you can do living rooms and books and things like that.
So what's the final stop on this journey? I mean, obviously we're going to do multiple passes. Would you suggest, I think this is probably subjective, but do you suggest doing multiple passes in a single space, or one pass through each room and then come back on through? Probably it just matters who the person is.
Yeah. So what we see is we kind of go, right, do your kitchen, bathroom, linen cupboard, bedroom, toys, books, paperwork. But what we see sometimes is after a couple of rooms, people want to go back to the kitchen, for example, or they want to circle back to the bathroom. And because they're like, oh, they look at the other room that's next and they go, oh, maybe it's, the wrong season of the year. You're not going to do a garage in the middle of the winter, right? So they might then say, actually, you know what, let me circle back, tweak the things that I've done before. And what you then see, oh, wow, that was so much easier this time around. It was so much quicker this time around. And it builds up that momentum then to do the next project. Later, for sure, is then the paperwork. After paperwork, digital. Digital is huge these days. And then you kind of go into sentimental and photographs. That's kind of the last step of the journey.
That last step, I think, is one of those parts where it's like, okay, am I done yet? Or, but I think, again, it's an ongoing thing. And with those daily, what you didn't call it check-in. What is it? The daily
resets. Yeah, daily resets, and then weekly resets, and we have seasonal resets as well. So that's when you start to do your maintenance. That's when you go, you know what, a garage, once you've done a good job on it, you can leave it for a while. And yeah, of course, things get out of place a little bit again. But then when springtime is coming or summer is coming, you can go, oh, right, let me now tweak and change it a little bit. But it's never as bad as that first time. We have a lot of lofts here in the UK, in our attics, with tiny little loft ladders that you have to precariously carry stuff up and down from. So that's something that's always a tricky room to do. So you probably need to, of course, then maybe think about it in advance. Go, do I need some help? Have I got enough manpower? Am I strong enough to carry? Is it safe to do this by myself? Maybe get a container or book a slot at the recycling center. So other kind of practical things come in play. But it's I'm getting ready to do this. That's, I think, really important to get mentally ready to go right. And again, you can just start in saying, I'm opening that garage door and go, you know what? Let me first start with taking out all of the cardboard boxes, because we all love cardboard boxes. We have loads of them. And by just clearing down the cardboard, it's suddenly like, oh, wow, I can start to see again. And then you can say, you know what, let me zone it. So zoning is very important. In a garage, in a shed, in a basement, in a loft, this is where the garden stuff lives. This is where the camping gear lives. This is where the sports stuff lives. This is where the suitcases live. I mean, everybody's got different categories. But putting everything in a zone, again, you're categorizing it. That helps. You're pulling like with like. And then it's also easier to decide, what am I keeping from this? And then when you're doing, I don't know, suitcases, you can go, actually, you know what? That one is so annoying. That zip always gets stuck every time. And it drives me crazy. I can't deal with it. It's got to go. It's got to go because I've got a nice one that's working absolutely fine. So let me just let the one that's really annoying me every time go. And then you're making it easier for yourself.
Well, and I'd have to imagine that one of the things that helps with all of this is having those resets, but at the same time, maybe even having some sort of a spot designated. I mean, again, this is going to require a little extra work, but maybe there's a place in the garage where you can go and take, each time you say, okay, I'm getting rid of this, you put it there and you have this pile that is the donate pile or the garage sale pile, whatever you're going with. You can reward yourself if you need, many ongoing rewards of getting stuff donated, go donate it. If you want to get enough together for a garage sale, get that garage sale together and maybe set a deadline or something. But then also say, I'm going to use that money as a reward of some sort. We're going to see if we can't raise enough money to save this, something, do this or do that.
Exactly. And I think what's really important, and we call this the cycle of success in the Declutter Hub, is that last stage. Indeed, the two last steps are make sure that you've got a plan for the stuff that's leaving, because only when the stuff has left your house, then you can officially say that you've decluttered it. So as long as it's in your house, that process is not finished. So it's really important to schedule that trip to the charity shop, or to have a deadline for that garage sale, or to say to your, I don't know, if you have decided that one or two bits have to be returned to your friend because you borrowed them and you still haven't gotten around to returning them. When there's a date in the diary, then it's finished. And then you can enjoy that space. So a lot of times people drive around with stuff they want to declutter for weeks on end in the boot of their car, but it's then still a loose thread, a loose end. It's on the to-do list still, right? Of still haven't done it. So creating that, making space for the donation is really important. And with those first big declutters, it's even more important. And then later, when you start to go more into a maintenance kind of level, then you want to create a donation station. A donation station is a place in your house where you put an empty crate, an empty box, and whatever, a shelf, and go, right, this is my donation station. And every time you find something in your house, oh, I actually don't know why I still got it. I don't need it. You can put it in the donation station. And when the box is full, boom, I have to drive to the charity shop or Goodwill or whatever it is and donate it. But in the beginning, when you have rooms with lots and lots of stuff, you have to build in that donation time into that day or into that week, because otherwise it just keeps lingering and then other stuff gets put on top of it. And then we forget it exists. And then a few months later, we find this pile and we're like, what is this pile? and we have to go through it again. So we've literally just churned that stuff from one room to the other, but it still hasn't left the building. So finishing that cycle is really, really important for decluttering success.
Ingrid, it's been great talking with you. There's obviously so much more in the book, and we've got a great overview, and you've given some great encouragement, but I want to point people to where they can find more about what you and your partner are doing in terms of the work you're doing, but also grabbing the book.
Thank you so much. Everything else is on declutterhub.com. You will find the podcast there. You will find the book there, information about our membership, our Facebook group, social handles, everything. declutterhub.com.
Awesome. Well, it has been great talking with you. You're making a great impact on people's lives and the living spaces that they're in. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your experience.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's another podcast crossed off your listening to-do list. I hope that you're getting this idea that clutter is more about emotions than stuff. My wife, the other day, we had cleaned the whole house and we had it getting looked at for a certain thing. And she came in like a day or two later and was just like, I just feel so much better when I walk into a clean home. And I know there are gradations and degrees of that are possible because life is busy and life is messy. But I'm hoping that Ingrid's tips, especially about daily resets and about it being a process instead of just a project, are going to hit home for you. If you found this episode helpful, I would love for you to do me the favor of sharing it with somebody you know needs to hear it. Head on over to the show notes at beyondthetodolist.com, share it out from there, or hit that share button wherever you're listening to this in your podcast player app of choice. Thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next episode.